What's going on, guys? This is Matt Marinoff, Real Estate Recovery Group, and I'm super pumped. My guest today is Lenny Hernandez. It's funny because a lot of people don't know who Lenny Hernandez is in New Jersey, which is okay because usually people just refer to Lenny as Flippin' NJ. So, and that's basically the name of his company, Flippin' NJ. So, a little bit about Lenny, and Lenny's going to tell a story today, which I'm super pumped about. Because not everybody really knows his true story. His rags to riches, riches to rags, and back up to riches again, if you want to call it like that. When Lenny started in the business, he had a full head of hair and he had a mullet. No, I'm only kidding. And that's what the business does to you. It's important today that this is talked about because, nationwide, they're talking about how there's a hold on sheriff sales. So we're going to get a shitload of insight today. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have a filter button. There's no buzzer buttons here. Everything flows the way it has to flow. But the reason for having Lenny on right now is because obviously the COVID-19 scare, people not taking it serious. Now all of a sudden people are taking it serious. And in some situations on demographics, it's getting a little out of control. But I wanted everybody to tune in today and talk to somebody who's been in the business since 1998. Is that right? 1998?
That's right. 98, I went in part-time. 2001 is when I got in full-time.
All right, so whatever. But I mean, you had your foot wet in the late 1900s.
Right? That's right.
How's that for making yourself sound old?
Yeah.
So with that said, I'm basically going to interview Lenny, and we're going to talk about a couple of different things. But I think first and foremost, Len, tell people a little bit about your story. Let people dive into the psyche of Lenny Hernandez and, why you do what you do. And then we'll actually get into the business model, and we'll get down into the 10 points that we're going to cover regarding sheriff sales. Go ahead.
So what a lot of people don't know is I started off in real estate in 1998. I didn't really do much there. I bought in a couple multifamilies and wasn't really making any money. But I was working corporate in New York City. I worked as a technical recruiter right across the street from the World Trade Center.
Interesting.
I didn't want to. Once I got to New York and I saw that, and I love technology. Anybody who knows me knows I love technology. But I was on the side of recruiting people that made the technology, and that's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to get involved in real estate. So, after 9/11, 2001, at that point, I didn't really have a choice other than to leave the corporate world and jump into something that I really wanted to. Mm-hmm. That was also around the time of the .com bust. That was another recession. So I jumped into real estate within a recession, and it was a different type of recession. But I started getting into real estate literally just by watching. At the time, I don't know if you remember, Matt. Remember Carlton Sheets?
Of course. Okay. And who was the other guy? Tommy Vu. Tommy Vu.
I remember his commercial.
The guy in the back of the boat. You too can have a life like this.
Correct.
Right.
So what happened was, he kept on talking about doing real estate with no money down, and I had a little bit of money, not a lot. Working in the city, it was it was expensive. I didn't have a lot of money saved up. I think I only had like maybe $27,000, and not a whole lot you can do with that as far as buying and selling properties at that time. But what I did was I started thinking outside the box. Found a guy who what's that? Remember that back then it was in the chats or groups. So it was like American Online or whatever. There used to be some.
The group.
Remember that, right? Yeah. So I found a.
That was through dial-up, right?
Correct. Yeah.
The struggle was real back then.
Oh yeah, 100%. People don't know. So I found a guy who had two properties that wanted to sell them. There was two 4-family properties, and what it was he said he wanted $160,000 for each property. I asked the guy, his name was Kevin, if I get you 200, can I keep the difference? And he was like, sure, why not? So I locked up the deal. I sold the properties to two of my friends. And since then, I've been into real estate. So I've been right jumping in, right? That continued, I continued my real estate career in doing that, finding niche deals, finding buyers, just trying to get into buying and selling, but not really flipping a whole lot, more of just finding the deal and then selling it to other investors. And that, skyrocketed. A lot of people were doing a lot of fix and flips. Things were just going upwards. Everything seemed great. I'm not going to bore you with the whole story, but everything seemed great till 2007. 2007, obviously, everybody knows that's when the big recession happened. By 2008, I was scrambling. Everybody else was scrambling. By 2009, I was hemorrhaging money. I was trying to keep my credit. I wanted to keep my credit intact. I had all this debt. I was paying all these credit cards, mortgages, all this stuff, cars, everything. And I continued trying to do that till about 2009 and 10, and forget about it. Everything imploded at that point, right? Everything just collapsed on me. Went through trying, when you're in a situation like that, and why I feel it's important to kind of talk about this stuff now is that the worst thing to do in a situation like this, and of course, this is real. Everything that's happening right now is real. It's a real concern. But the worst thing to do is panic and start, sell. I was selling things for just to, try to get money back. I had bought a lot. I had made the mistake and bought a lot of properties at that time that were knockdowns. I bought them, knocked them down, and I was going to build new construction. Had like maybe 7 of those properties that I had overpaid for, knocked them down, got approvals, and now at that point they weren't worth anything. So I gave that away. The rentals that I did have at that time, because I was getting them for such good deals, had very low mortgages. They carried me through, right? But I still needed money during that time because I was still trying to had a lot of debt. Ultimately, to make a long story short, I ended up, just imploding, and never really thought I'd ever come back from that. And just like, they say, I had no interest in getting back into real estate whatsoever. But, I tried everything. I had a car dealer, I bought a dealer's license, and I was trying to sell cars, and that wasn't good. I was buying and selling things.
What year was that, Len?
That was, I'd say 2009. That was 2009. Right.
When were you rock bottom, Len?
Rock bottom was 2010. 2010. That was literally starting from zero, right? From when I say no money, I mean, I think the last thing I remember around that time was my parents had lent me money just to get through. So I remember that was definitely rock bottom at that point. So what happened from then is you kind of just figure it out. For me, it was trying different types of businesses and stuff like that. I did whatever I had to do as far as, I got into, starting a company that was scrapping metal, made some money from that, all that stuff just to get me through. I didn't start bouncing back till about 2012 when I had a friend of my mother's whose son wanted to get into real estate. He had no clue. He was kind of like starting the way I did back in 2001. He didn't really know anything about how bad things were. And at that point, the share of sales, which is, what I was doing prior to that, were starting to open back up again. So he had some money. I said to the guy, if you want, we can do this together. I went back to the auctions, got one property, turned that property into another property, and then things started escalating from there. that was the beginning of what then.
Yeah, before you actually go into the beginning of, a little bit of the next phase of your life, let's go back to 2010, rock bottom. Were you married?
Oh, of course.
How many kids did you have at the time?
At the time, I had 2 kids.
Were you renting or did you own?
I owned.
Did you get to keep your house? Did you lose it?
No, lost the house.
Lost the house. So
Yep.
let's walk through what had happened when you lost the house, because there's a reason for this. What did you feel like when you lost your house? How did that go down?
So when I don't think anybody ever prepares for, when you're on an upswing, you're not really thinking, all the negative things. I always thought it was just going to just go up from there. So when I built my last house, I never thought I was going to leave there. I thought I was going to, live there forever. Right. So I tried to keep that for as long as I could. And what happened was, there's nothing coming in. Everything's going out. You're blowing money left and right. I was trying to keep my credit intact and stuff. It was probably one of the worst feelings in the world to literally just stop paying on my house, because I didn't want to lose it. I didn't want to lose it. I never thought I'd be able to get another house again, is where I was at. Mentally, completely defeated, to say the least. Right. It was bad. It was bad.
So, all right. So basically, guys, right now, if you're tuning in, we're talking with Lenny Hernandez from Flipping NJ, and he's actually sharing his full story on what had happened with him regarding his property. He talked a little bit of how he was in the tech field, got out of the industry. Then he had moved on into real estate. He'd always had a little bit of a taste, always wanted to nibble in the real estate market. We're in 2010 now. He started at 98, went full-time 2001, 2010, essentially lost it all. So now you lose your house, Len.
Yep.
Are you still with your first wife?
Of course. Yeah.
So your marriage was rock solid, obviously.
Thank God. Yep.
And you had 2 kids. How many kids you have now?
I have 4.
So she saw potential in you, obviously.
Yeah.
Now you have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you planning on having any other kids? I mean, one more, you get a pair.
No. I think I'm pretty much done.
Okay. So, with all that said, what advice would you give somebody who has no idea, zero? We're fast forwarding 20 years to 2020.
So I know these last 9 years have been kind of like what I experienced when I first started. Everything didn't seem like anything you did, as long as you bought fairly right, you're going to be able to make money on the property if your construction is in order and all that stuff. Nobody I know anticipated, I know we've been on a long streak. Everybody knew that there was going to be some type of correction, but I know nobody was prepared for this, or most people weren't prepared for this. So my advice to somebody just coming in is that this, obviously, just like everything else, will pass. Yes, there's going to be some winners. Some people are going to win. Some people are going to lose. But ultimately, there's always, as long as you keep moving forward, and I think the big difference back then too, and I look at it now, I gotta watch what I'm watching on social media, because the more you watch, it seems like the world is completely falling apart, and to a lot of people it really is. And if that's what you want to consume, which is obviously there is a pandemic, there is things happening right now, there is a correction in place, but the more engulfed you get in that, and the more sucked in you get, that's going to become more of what your reality is, right? So back then, it wasn't necessarily like that as much as it is now. So now it's even more careful that, staying optimistic, staying not giving up, not panic is, to me, probably one of the worst things to that's happening right now is all this panic that's going on. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going out. I'm doing the whole social distancing, and you guys see me with my masks on and stuff like that. 100%, you got to be careful. But as far as everything else, business is still going to continue. Yes, things are going to change, but as long as we adapt to change, and as far as like what I've seen, just from when I first got started, and then other people getting into the business, people adapt, and we're also blessed to be here in Jersey, that there's going to be a need for housing. Prior to this happening, there was a lot of pre-foreclosures already happening. Some more are going to happen, but there was still a need there wasn't enough inventory out there. I think things are going to kind of correct themselves right now for the best. I don't think that what's happening right now, as soon as this is all over and we can start going out and doing our stuff, those people that were still looking for housing, a lot of them are still going to be looking, and that's going to be
100%. I agree with that.
And I feel that's gonna open up. It's gonna get people going again, more optimistic and stuff. Yes, a lot of stuff is going to be affected, but just like anything else, we're going to get through that. That's how I feel.
Okay, so let's say people are watching right now. I joke around about it, but I mean, your weapon of choice is the sheriff sales.
Correct.
When you got back into real estate, what made you think to lean towards sheriff sales?
So I prior to everything happening I had done tax sales and sheriff sales, and at that point I was heavily doing a lot of sheriff sales. When the moratorium happened, I didn't even know what a moratorium was, right? I never thought that they can stop sheriff sales because there was always going to be people buying and selling. Now I had no way of even purchasing anything to sell to somebody else, right? I didn't have anything to do. So the same thing now. There's a lot of people out there that this right now, if they're relying a lot on outside funding and stuff, this could stop the flow of their purchasing properties. But there's a lot of people out there, and I know because I sell to a lot of them, that are still buying right now. Yes, they're being cautious, and yeah, if they're holding off a little bit, it's because they think, at least the people that I've spoken to or are selling to, they think that prices are going to drop dramatically, and they probably will. I don't know about dramatically right now, but they're holding off a little bit too. But there's always going to be people buying properties. There's always investors. A lot of the people who I sold properties to back then, a lot of them are doing phenomenal right now based on what they were able to purchase back then, right? So there's going to be a need for buying and selling. There's going to be a need for rentals. People are going to lose their houses. The pre-foreclosures here in New Jersey are probably one of the highest in the whole country right now before this. Right? So, there's going to be things that are going to make it a lot better, like the forbearance that's happening right now. Or maybe that's not going to make it better. I mean, that's going to literally, give people comfort for that time. But depending on what happens with that, I'm not really sure how that works. If they're expecting people to pay 3 payments at the end of the term, a lot of people are going to get hurt by that.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So this is something that a homeowner had forwarded to me. I printed it out, and I've been showing it the last 2 days on Facebook Lives. And the reason why is because everybody's like, I'm going to deferment. You do realize the deferment, the information you're talking about, the mortgage payments, everything goes on the back of the mortgage. Yep, that's exactly what my mortgage company told me. I don't need your help. So first of all, you're reaching out for advice. So don't be closed-minded. When you get the paperwork, let myself or my team member look at it and actually take a look and see if it's something that makes sense. Now, we're not charging for it. We're just saying let us take a look at it just to get an idea of a concept if it's something that makes sense.
Okay.
So this homeowner really thought the way this was set up, I don't know if you can see it or not.
Look, okay. Oh yeah, now I see it. Okay, yeah.
First payment, second payment, and what's the bottom payment?
Balloon payment. Exactly.
Does that balloon payment say deferment?
No.
How much does it say they have to pay?
$7,072.90.
Okay. So at the 3-month threshold of the forbearance, this homeowner is going to have to cut a check for $7,072.90. So that's not a deferment. That's a forbearance. And there's a huge difference. The reason why I'm saying this is because people need to verify, clarify, and get paperwork sent to them regarding whatever it is that they're trying to do with their property. And I'm going to say to them, blue in my face, because I know what's going to happen. Now, this particular person who sent me this has already gotten 2 loan modifications.
Wow.
What happens, if God forbid you can't pay that payment? They said, I can get another modification. And I said, are you sure? And they said, yeah, they said. Oh, okay. I said, do me a favor, call back. They called me back and said, Matt, you're not going to believe this. If I don't make those payments, if I don't patch those payments and make those payments up, I don't qualify. I will essentially, I could either do a deed in lieu on my house or a short sale. And because of the fact that I have 1 or 2 liens on my property and another mortgage, they will not allow me to do a deed in lieu. So I guess I'd have to do a short sale? Yeah. So when somebody says to me, I got it, or I call my bank and they send me paperwork, if you see anything that resembles anything on there that says anything about a balloon payment, I would be petrified if I was you. Now, during the time when you have a forbearance, you don't have to pay the mortgage. You could pay everything towards the end of that forbearance. What you can do is you can make a partial payment. But if you don't call your bank and ask your bank for a forbearance right now, right, and you start defaulting on it, guess what's going to happen? Well, you don't call your bank and say, guys, listen, right now I'm panicked because I've lost my job, or loss of income, or my spouse lost their job. You don't call your bank and say, look, I'm being impacted underneath the COVID-19 coronavirus, and communicate with your bank. And Len, it was a different tune. It was a different band back in 2008.
Yeah.
But I was saying the same shit. Call your bank. Communicate with your bank. You know what people did? Did nothing. So when I tell you it could potentially be a shit show, it's going to be. And if you guys think that the government is really going to bail you out the way it was bailed out back then, I can tell you right now, as far as I know, the answer is no. And if they don't do that and you don't make those payments and they don't put some type of government program in place, we suck and win. So there's going to be a lot of potential for distressed real estate. Now, is the market really going to tumble? Are prices really going to come down? The good news is that there's potential of a lot of buyers that are out there.
Correct.
We had Chris Alessio on here yesterday. I massacred his name if you were on. Part of me was joking, but I was so tired yesterday. I had a horrible sleep. I was saying everything but how to say his name correctly. And I did apologize to him.
You got my name right.
I'm friends with him. But he had talked about how other lending institutions have either stopped lending, changed their guidelines, the credit criteria changed. Now, where do they go? So there are still people out there that are buying properties. And I think that once this thing lets up, what is my prediction as far as it letting up and kind of like getting back to normal? Well, we're in April now. I would say probably maybe, end of May, maybe June, maybe things might start getting a little bit more mainstream, kind of like ease back into it.
Yeah.
But communicate with your bank. We're not talking about me right now. We're talking about Lenny and his weapon of choice is a sheriff's sales. Seller pre-foreclosures obviously is something that I work with, and Lenny and I have been kicking a tire back and forth, and I think we're going to do something together. Maybe Len, maybe we'll start it next week, and
Why not?
and
Can't
start
leave the house.
and start bringing other people on in our network and interviewing other people together, and we could team up. I think that'll be a fun idea. So Len, there's a couple of things that you wanted to cover today. I'm asking the guests to come on to bring value, to bring some type of education. People shouldn't sit around like couch potatoes and not do anything and vegetate. They should definitely, if you're not going to move your body, I mean, obviously, I'm not an Adonis myself, but you should absolutely 100% keep your mind moving. All right?
100%.
Don't sit stagnant. Don't sit in front of the TV and find out, what the latest and greatest is. Oh, there's another person that got it. Oh, there's another person that got it.
Yeah.
How many times can you watch that during the day? So let's cover some of the stuff. And I'm going to hit you with some of the questions. These are some of the things that you were talking about, right? So, number one, what is happening right now with sheriff sales? Based on the news and then based on, up to what was going on. What's your experience right now?
So right now, the sheriff sales has stopped completely. There's a moratorium. And I've spoken to a couple of people that actually work at the sales, and they don't know when they're going to get started back up again right now. They just don't know, which kind of pushes everything back. Anything that was that was going to be foreclosed on, obviously, they have this time right now, right? It's just in limbo. The people, what sucks is for the people that actually bought properties prior to the sale that are occupied, they can't do what's called a recession right now because you can't evict anybody, right? So that starts another problem right there. My advice to those people that bought properties and you can't evict them, obviously, is cash for keys right now. But same time, where are they going to go?
Right.
That's a problem.
Is it legal yet to start burning houses down or no?
No,
not yet.
No, not yet. Yeah, not yet.
Definitely make sure your insurance policies are in place. And maybe this is a helpful tip. Maybe it's not. When people were buying these properties, they were buying the properties with the notion that the tenants were in the properties are leaving. So they were really, getting this risk insurance. So maybe they might have to look into some type of occupancy insurance based on the fact that people are still in the property. What's your thought on that?
So are you saying when somebody buys a property at the auction and is occupied, right? You're saying that they should. Well, remember, they can't even pay the properties off right now at the sheriff's sale, right? So if you bid on a property, you can't even pay it right now, pay it off. So your money's just kind of like stuck in there right now. Anybody who paid off the property, yes, that's an issue. But
so actually, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that maybe somebody was in that 30-day period. They put their percentage down on the property, thinking that, hey, next Friday I'm going to go in there and I'm going to give the remainder of the money. What happens in a situation like that where somebody puts money down on it, they win the bid? What is the sheriff sale?
So, and Matt, you're cut. I don't know if it's my internet or yours. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine, Len.
Okay. So for a wholesaler, that's beautiful. It's just giving you more time to market the property and stuff, right? And if you're a wholesaler, you're probably nervous as well because you don't know what the market's gonna do, right? You don't know, if the sale happened, if they open up the sheriff's sales right now, I doubt people would be bidding as aggressively at the moment, right? So this might be a way for them maybe to get out of the sale if they could, right? If they could, there's ways around that. But the problem is if you buy a property that's occupied, you can't get the people out. You can't even start your writ of possession. Writ of possession is what you do when you buy a property at the auction. You have to pay it off first, and then it takes, depending on what county you're in, it can take 60 to 90 days for that to happen. So if you're already in this where you can't evict people, and we don't know how long that's going to happen, or if they're going to change the dates on that, then yeah, that could be a problem. You're better off just doing cash for keys for those tenants. Is what I would definitely be doing right now.
Well, I mean, you basically covered question number 2 is what would you advise someone who basically bought the property, prior to the pandemic, if occupied?
Correct.
So we covered number 2.
Correct.
Actually, we covered number 3 too. What do you think sheriff sales will be like when they open back up? What were you before the pandemic? What were you seeing? What were people coming out? Like, give me an example. What sheriff sale? Give me one. What are the sheriff sales that you go to?
All right. So we cover both Middlesex County, Union County, and Essex County. What we stopped doing though was going physically. So we have people over there. I don't know if you know this, but what we've been doing is dealing with the people that are going to sales prior to going to the sheriff sale. So we work a lot with pre-foreclosures, and certain people that are going to the sheriff sale right now. If we have a buyer for that particular property, that's the only time that we'll actually go and bid on a house. Well, right now, the lack of inventory at the sales has caused people to overbid on properties. So what we started doing, and I guess you could say this now, is on a few of the properties that actually go to the sale, we've been able to become the bank, take it to the sale, and actually make money there, right? In that capacity. Right now, I think if the sales were to open back up right now, first off, it would still not be a lot of stuff that are going through because that takes a while for it to go through. And people are going to be a lot more cautious, especially if you're already sitting on, 2, 3, 4 properties right now from the auction. So I think that's going to leave an opportunity for the properties that are going for somebody else who's just coming in. So I feel right now what's happening is just like it happens throughout history, right? There's a transfer of wealth happening, right? It's going to give people opportunities that maybe couldn't have had an opportunity before, right?
Right.
In a lot of sense, if you're holding on to a lot of things right now, I doubt, especially if you were bidding on it prior to the whole pandemic, you paid top dollar. You 100% paid top dollar, right?
It's just going to flush out a lot of guys that overpaid for properties that were really making it hard for people like yourself that are seasoned investors. So I saw over the last 6 months to a year, people were calling me and say, "Hey, there's got to be a better way than going to sheriff sale because people are overbidding on properties." Say, "Hey, I got a property, but the guy paid $25,000-$50,000 more for the property, and he should have anyway." What's your thought on that?
So
is the herd going to get thin?
100%. So this whole sheriff sale thing has changed. It's went through different cycles. That alone has went through different cycles, up and down. We've went through since 2008, since 2011. We probably went through 4 cycles, up and down, up and down, up and down. Right? We stopped going to the sales. It used to be, let's say, 90% of our business. It ended up becoming 20% of our business. It really just became a way, and I'm talking the past maybe 15 months, has become just a source for us to find people directly, right, and utilize the sheriff sale platform to feed our leads into our systems and stuff like that. So we had changed gears a long time ago. We didn't get affected as far as buying properties overpriced at the auction because we only go for stuff. The stuff that we bought at auction has been stuff that we already had a buyer that was paying us to buy it at the auction or to work out the deal. So it doesn't really affect too much of of we were currently doing. It's gonna help it now because now a lot of the people that were bidding are gonna slow down, and now this kind of like opens up again, and it's gonna be even more later, right? As soon as whatever's gonna happen with the forbearance, whatever's gonna happen with all that stuff, that's gonna take some time, and all the pre-foreclosures that are right now set to go to the auction, that's also going to create an influx of inventory. But it's not just going to be inventory over there. So we've been, as you know, we've been dealing directly with homeowners for the past 15 months. Even the homeowners were now, getting a little unrealistic on their prices. Now more than ever, we do a lot of campaigns and we do a lot of stuff. A lot of the people who had no interest in talking to us on an offer that we made are now calling, right? That's happening too. Now we just have to be very careful of what we're buying our properties for too. This is
actually calling you back. They're swinging back around because so interested.
We follow up with everybody, but between us following up with people and people reaching back out to us, yeah.
So you think follow up is key in this game?
100%, especially in the home when you're dealing with homeowners. Yes.
Right. Don't have a defeatist attitude. Obviously.
Correct.
Do you have to have a thick skin to be in this industry?
Oh yeah.
And a big set of balls, guy or girl.
Yeah.
So all right. So let's keep going because we've got a couple of things here, and I want to open up the questions at the end. So what's your thought on the foreclosures due to the pandemic? What is your prediction or semi-prediction going to be based on the next 6 months to a year? What do you think is going to happen?
So I think when this opens back up, as far as people that had projects that are going, they're going to continue. They're going to finish off their projects. They're going to be able to sell those properties. I know properties right now that are hot are the ones that are vacant, right? So as long as they're making their houses look good and prices don't drop, which I don't really think that initially prices are going to drop. People think they are initially. I don't think that's going to happen right now because there's still a lot of people out there. I think the fourth quarter, I feel I already have it set for. That's when I'm ready to really start getting good deals. With the sales throughout the years, whatever X amount of years, it was always like we just waited. We waited. March was when we started getting good deals because everybody comes off really hard in the beginning of the year, right? With buying, everybody wants to get into buying, flipping properties. I think right now is going to be the equivalent of that in the fourth quarter, and I think investors need to be ready for that, lining up your funds, doing all that stuff because I think that's really where we're going to see a lot of good deals. And going into next year, it's going to be the same thing. It's anybody's guess right now of how long-term this is going to be. I'm hoping that it's not like 2007, 2008. I'm hoping more that it's like the 2001 recession that didn't last that long. It was pretty brief. And but I don't know. This is a global thing that's going on right now.
I think if people pay their mortgage or take advantage of the forbearance, make partial payments, get to the end of the forbearance, get back to work, maybe hit their 401k if they're allowed, tap into their savings, bring their current mortgage, I think people are going to be okay. I don't think the majority of people are going to do that. I think the majority of people that have already had modifications before, there's going to be either a huge relapse with that or they're going to think, oh, well, I'll get another modification. That's not the case. People that, might have before made a lot of money, but they can't verify their income, they may or may not give those people modifications. Because you might say, yo, I got $100,000 in my bank. Cool. But what kind of income do you have coming in? I don't have any. They might just fast track and say, yeah, well, you know what? You don't qualify for modification. That doesn't necessarily mean at a later date you can't qualify. You need to reach out to people that are like professionals in the industry, like you or me. As far as wholesalers are concerned, right now, what do you see wholesalers obviously now they're shitting their pants. But where do you see wholesalers with properties that are under contract right now, occupied, not occupied, whatever, whatever it is? Do you think that you're going to see a lot of wholesalers get out of the business in the next 6 months?
I think so. When I've been selling properties and Flippin' and Jay's been selling properties, we've been selling it for a long time now. Throughout that time, you have buyers that come and go, and then you have your core, let's say, set of buyers that you become friendly with, people that you just know that when you pick something up, they're going to buy it, right? If they say they're going to buy it, they're going to buy it. And that takes time to develop, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the problem that wholesalers are going to have is that if they haven't developed those relationships yet, and they don't really know their buyers, then they're not going to have an outlet to where to sell them, right? So, and that was kind of like the biggest problem back then, when I was only selling, when I was only selling properties from the sheriff sale to certain investors, they were the only investors I had. When I stopped getting sheriff sale properties, they just weren't around. I didn't have an outlet to get more profit. I didn't have an outlet for anything. It was kind of like in reverse. I think as long as there's, when I say real buyers, I don't want to insult anybody. Everybody's a real buyer, but I mean real buyers in the sense that
no, they're not.
That aren't affected as much as the people that are relying on, using hard money and stuff like that. Everybody's a buyer right now, and everybody, when they say they can buy cash, they, whether it's coming from a hard money lender or not, it doesn't even matter. It's still a deal. But if that kind of like goes away, right, and those investors were solely relying on hard money or whatever the case is, where it becomes hard to do that, then, it'll be hard.
You're saying everybody's a buyer. I don't agree with that. I think the majority of people in our space are full of shit. I don't think they know what they're doing. They don't have the proper education. They're throwing shit up against the wall. I've seen it over the last 15 years. It's a disgrace. I think that the majority of the wholesalers are garbage. They have no training. They are Googling stuff. They're watching different shows and videos, and I think that they're experts. But the reality is, I've had wholesalers approach me, try to bring me a transaction, and I'm like, this makes no sense. And have to go back and try to, reorganize the transaction, and then them say, well, I still want my fee. I mean, at that point, go F yourself, because you might have brought me the lead. That's the thing, though. You're talking about bird dogs, right? I don't like the terminology bird dog. I like house hunter.
Yeah.
House hunter sounds stronger than a bird.
Yeah.
You're flying around, you're a bird.
Yeah. I never liked that term.
No, but you're a house hunter.
Yeah.
You're out there with your shotgun. You are hunting.
Yeah.
So I think that's great terminology. So, right now, I mean, you pretty much nailed everything that we were going to talk about. But I have to ask, what are you going to tell people? What are you telling people right now, wholesalers, to prepare or focus on when the channels start opening up again? We're 30 days down. We essentially got 2 more months to go. What are you going to tell these people? What are you telling people in these private groups?
Well, this is. I just want to put something out there right now. If people have good deals and they don't know what to do with them, or they're afraid to put down the money, if they're a good deal, I'm willing to put down the money, right? Because we need inventory. We need more inventory, right? So that's one thing that I want to put out there. The second thing is, what I would be focusing on is just trying to get, I mean, it's just common sense right now, right? Just trying to, even though prices aren't going to drop, I don't think initially, 20% like everybody says. They might later, but initially it's not going to happen. I would say that they start buying their deals based on if it has already dropped 20%, right? 100%. You need to get a good of a deal as you can right now. I think buying rentals is definitely, multifamily properties right now is definitely a thing that people are going to be looking for, right? And I think that's the buyers out there, the real buyers are not going to stop buying right now. And when I say real buyers, I already said that. Not that everybody is not a real buyer, but the people that know and have been through something like this before know that now is the time that they got to get ready to step it up.
So I'm streaming on other sites as well. So do I say people's names if they posted it on social media?
Sure.
All right. So Alfred Velasquez says, "Oh my God, I so agree with Matt regarding wholesalers. LOL. They are so unrealistic with their ARVs, projected renovation costs, and we're not going to talk about their price tags." Okay. This is what do we got? We got Vin. We got Vince Harris watching.
What's up, Vince?
He says, "Amen, brother." Andrew Swap says, "I agree. Essentially with Matt, they are not realistic, or they're not real. Get the war chest ready." Andrew's like, "I want prices to tank." What do we got? Investors are more prone to hold onto their money, and tenants will most likely know their landlord situation. So I can't really see cash for keys due to mainly what Lenny said previously. Where are they going to go? That's actually really true because.
Well, hold on. I did say that. Right now, where are they going to go? They aren't going to go, right? You can't go, even if you wanted to.
No, they can't. They're not. They can't. They won't. And that's something that people need to understand, unfortunately. So, it's a situation where people have not weathered the storm. You've been through two storms.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was in, I would say the second storm. In 2005, when I got into the industry, people didn't know who I was. 2007, people knew who I was. Teaching the classes on short sales and stuff like that. I would say anybody who would think that short sales are, not relevant, now are 100% going to say yes, they are relevant. And you know what's fun, Lenny, is that we're going to see people that are going to come out of the woodwork that said they've never left the industry for 15 years. Well, they were not on social media. They weren't talking about it. Yeah. They weren't going to any of the meetups. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, listen, you need to trust and verify the information that people are saying. So if somebody's on social media and they're talking about things, why not Google them? Why not Google their company? I mean, that's the best way to find out if somebody's full of shit or not. And there is a ton of people, and I hate to say it, that are full of shit. I'm not saying I'm a hater. I'm saying I'm a realist. And people need to really, truly be realistic about what's going to happen. And I think it's going to be somewhat similar where people are going to put their head in the sand and say, well, you ready for this? I didn't know I should call my bank. I didn't know I should talk to anybody. Jesus Christ, you're on the media all the time talking about forbearances and different programs are coming out. Reach out to your bank. So you can't, that's not an excuse. So the lender's not going to call you up and say, look, you've been paying your mortgage for the last 15 years. Don't worry about it. We're going to do a forbearance.
That'd be nice.
We'll catch up with you at a later date.
Yeah.
You got to reach out. Go to the sites. The sites have where you could go on there. They even have blurbs on there now. Well, COVID-19 relief or whatever it is. Be proactive. Don't wait for you to put yourself in a horrible situation where you're not going to be able to pay your mortgage back. That's truly something that's really important. So let's keep it moving, Len.
Hey, man, I got a question for you. So
I'm married.
Now, let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
So they expect, and the forbearance, it's all working the same way. They expect people to not pay for 3 months, and at the end of 3 months, make 3 months payments.
That is correct.
So back then, if they would have, my mortgage was about $9,000 a month with taxes, right? there's no way I would have been able to do that. Most people wouldn't have been able to do something like that.
General population is not going to be able to do that. So, right now, if you're in a situation where you're furloughed, your spouse lost their job, they're curious to find out, hey, what's going to happen next? What's the next move? I don't think the next move is for the government to step in at all. So if you're waiting for the government to step in, based on what we're seeing, and I could be wrong. Maybe 2 weeks from now, a week from now, they might come back and go, yeah, you know what? We're going to help out because it's getting a lot worse. I mean, what was it, like 10 million people apply for unemployment?
Yeah.
People applying for the SBA loans.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on there right now. So I think that we're really going to shake out people that are serious and people that are not. So if you can pay your mortgage, great. If you can't, or you're finding that you're getting ready to struggle, but in 3 months from now, you're going to be back to work, I would say call your bank and talk to your bank and say, look, do you guys offer, anything that would resemble a deferment? Can I put my payments on the back of my mortgage? I mean, right now it's zero. I haven't seen anybody do it except for one credit union bank. I forget, Leah named it yesterday. I think it was like 5-star or something like that. I'm not sure. And now, as far as, moving forward, hoping and praying that you're going to get some type of relief. Are they going to be offering modifications? Of course. But they're not offering it right now. Anything that's already been in position as far as modifications, they're going to keep going. They're putting the forbearance in place because really what they're doing, I know nobody likes to hear it. I know that there are a few investors out here like Andrew and Carmel are going to love hearing this. The investors are kicking the can down the road because they're waiting in 3 months. They're trying to put everything in place now to be prepared. Plus, they're working on skeleton crews. Plus, servicing companies are going to shut down. Plus, small banks are going to go out of business. So people can't tell me that this is something that's going to be a quick fix. It's not going to happen. I've said in the past, maybe they should possibly think about doing a deferment, a hard reset for at least 2 months, and then starting over again and bringing the government back and everything else, and then starting the report on credit reports. I'm going to have a specialist come on, at least one, and talk about credit and how it's really going to affect.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns for Lenny? We got about 5, maybe 10 minutes left. I'd love to hear what people are thinking, whatever questions that they have. We have Shamal Malik watching us as well, Len.
What's up, Shamal? How are you?
If anybody has any questions or concerns, whatever, please. What is this? Oscar Amante, is it best to buy a 50% repair fee to play it safe? I'm not understanding that question. Is it best to buy at 50% repair fee to play it safe? Do you know what he's trying to say?
Maybe it means ARV. And the answer is yeah. Right now, yeah. And that's based on, like I said before, they're saying, some people say that the prices are going to drop 20%. I would be looking at everything right now if I'm on the buying it. If I'm trying to buy something right now, or if I'm looking to wholesale something, I want to use those figures right now on the buying. The closer you can get to that, the better.
Right. So let's say somebody used 70%, 30%. You're saying they should be using a matrix of 50%, not 30%.
Well, I mean, let's call it what it is. Right now, with panic works in both ways, right? Some sellers, or whatever the situation is, are going to get scared. If they can sell right now and they have equity and maybe they just want to sell out, they are going to sell cheap. But yeah, I mean, I know that we're trying to get properties for the properties that we got under contract right now. We're not going back and changing the price. We're not doing that to people right now because we got them right now at a good price, unless we really, really, really had to. So I wouldn't do that to people. But as far as going forward, I want to be more conservative too, as far as what I'm purchasing deals for.
Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any concerns? Does anybody want to know if Lenny shaves his chest?
No hair.
How many times a week you shave your head, Len?
This is 2 days not doing it.
2 days. That's your home office?
Yeah.
See, I'm surprised a guy like you, because you're pretty tech savvy. Why do you not have that remote control and you get it on Amazon? I'm not saying I was looking last night.
Okay.
But it's actually, I think, 7.5 feet wide. You hit a button and it's a green screen, and it comes down from the ceiling.
Because Amazon's not delivering right now. No, that actually sounds. No, I'm only kidding.
You
that
sure?
sounds pretty cool.
I think they are delivering right now.
We stopped getting stuff. I don't know. I stopped ordering stuff.
Well, we appreciate that. We don't need people running out there. It's amazing seeing everybody running around out there with masks and rubber gloves on and stuff like that. I run personally because I'm like, holy shit, that guy looks like my proctologist. I think he's coming at me. He's going to give me the finger test. And then they're always looking to give you a second opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nobody has any questions at all. I'm amazed right now. And there's a lot of people on here. Maybe they're just staying on here for the comedy hour. Well, Len, I guess if nobody has any questions, there's really nothing for us to stay around for.
Hey, that's all right. Thank you.
That means you did your job and you asked and you answered all the right questions, I guess.
If anybody needs to reach out to me, obviously, Lenny at Flippin' NJ, or you could give them my contact information.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to drop it in right now so people can reach out. So, guys, look, if you want to reach out to Lenny directly, obviously you can email him, right? It's Lenny at flippingnj.com, or he has a number. You can text him. And you can actually text him directly and ask him questions. So if you're shy, like some people are, and that's okay, take a screenshot of the phone number that's on there. This is Real Talk with Lenny Hernandez talking about sheriff sales in New Jersey. I sound like I'm doing a voiceover, right? This is Real Talk with Lenny Hernandez, sheriff sales, New Jersey.
You're pretty good at this.
Your host, the Hebrew Hammer. So we'll let that up. We'll let that run up there for about 30 seconds to a minute or so people can grab that information. Len, it was great having you on. I mean, obviously, you're working on a lot of other side projects. How do you feel working from home versus going into the office?
I'm actually really liking this. I'm really, really liking this. I can get used to this, but I still miss my office. I've only been there to water the plants the last couple weeks, but I'm going to start working from here more often.
It's amazing. It's amazing to see people that go on some of these lives, do some of these chats. I mean, you have a hat on, but it's a classy hat. They got like these wild hats on. They got T-shirts on. You could smell the stench from over the airwaves. They're not taking showers. It's funny because they're always like, wash your face and wash your hands. Yo, wash your body, right?
Uh-huh.
Especially when you pass the people on the street when you got to run out for some quick supplies or what have you. But I mean, look, it's funny because people are always like, you work from home. I mean, is it a distraction? For me, it's never been a distraction. I like working out of my house. I like being able to drop my kids off in the morning. In the afternoon, if I don't take a normal lunch, I'll go out. I'll offer to pick up the kids. I love spending time, with the kids when I can. They're 11, almost 12, and my oldest is going to be 17. We're pretty excited about the fact that DMV is shut down right now, so we don't have to take him for a license. Obviously, he was hoping to get a Hellcat.
Wow.
What is it? The Charger?
Yeah.
The Challenger, right? That's a big one. Yeah. Okay. I said that you can get that yourself when you turn 25 years old. I'm not gonna put you in a space shuttle. right?
Wow. I remember those days. Wow.
Absolutely. Cars are not as important to me. I know you're a little bit of a car guy. You got a couple yourself. Um, Len, I really want to appreciate you coming on. I love the information that you offered. Guys, I'm doing this every day at 12 o'clock to bring people of interest around the area. It doesn't have to be New Jersey because I have followers all over the United States. So if you're following in another state and you have something that you want to bring on, if you're a real estate agent, if you're an investor, if you're a title company, if you're an attorney, really anything that's related to real estate, I'd love to hear from you. And I think some of the people, would love to hear from you as well. Got a lot of thank you guys. Great job, great content. Is Lenny married? That's from a guy. He wants me to send you that to you privately. So that's it. I don't really have anything else to say. Your stepson finally logged on to say hello.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Christian.
So that's nice. He's probably using one of your new systems right now, tagging people.
Oh, maybe.
But I appreciate you coming on. If anybody has any questions, concerns, obviously you can reach out to Lenny directly. If you have an idea of a concept and you'd like to come on, we are now booked next week, and we're going into week 3 already. So I'm pretty excited about the lineup that's going to be coming up. So tomorrow is Friday, and we're going to have Paul Montalago on here. He is a major force in the industry. He's been in the industry 25, 30 years. He's out in Texas, and he's going to be talking about don't worry about the defense, worry about and working on your offense. So that's going to be some pretty cool stuff. Len, at the end of every show, I ask people to do the finger point. So today I'm going to ask, I want to see you do your best finger point.
How's that? You see my finger?
I don't know who the hell you're pointing at. Len, I appreciate you coming on. Len, stand by. We're gonna go off the air. Thanks everybody for watching. Tune in tomorrow for my next guest, Paul Montalago. And next week I will let everybody know who's going to be on. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.